In 1911, the last emperor of China was overthrown. China was then divided into kingdoms run by warlords who abused their power. The Nationalist Party, also known as the Kuomintang, was formed and led by Sun Yat-sen. The Communist Party was also formed and led by Mao Zedong. They aligned their groups together to remove the warlords from power. When Sun Yat-sen died, Chiang Kai-shek took over as leader of the Nationalist Party. He was afraid of communists and led a military campaign against them in 1931. In 1934, the Communist Party, led by Mao Zedong, retreated on the Long March and spread their communist beliefs as they traveled. They lost 90% of their supporters but were able to successfully spread their propaganda throughout the country. Japan took advantage of their weakness during the Civil War and invaded Manchuria. Nationalists and communists took a break from their war to try and stop their advances during World War II. Chiang Kai-shek was reluctant to put much effort into fighting Japan and wanted to save their resources for when they resumed fighting the communists. America eventually forced the surrender of the Japanese when they introduced atomic bombs to the war in 1945. After the war, the Allies reinstated Chiang Kai-shek as the leader of China. This prompted the Civil War to begin again. Nationalists had the upper hand, but their supporters gradually switched over to the communist side, taking their equipment such as jeeps and armored cars with them. In 1949, Shanghai fell to communists. The nationalists fled to Taiwan and started their own republic with their remaining supporters. After the communists took over China, Mao Zedong became chairman. The Agrarian Reform Law was introduced in 1950 to prevent landlords from taking advantage of Chinese peasants. Land was confiscated and redistributed equally to citizens in order to better their lives. It set up people's courts to try landlords who were treating peasants unjustly. These courts were run by the peasants. The 5-year plan began in 1953 and was a reform designed to improve Chinese industry. Mao aligned with the only country that was willing to deal with communism, Russia. They were given money as a means of improving the industry. The plan was a failure overall due to its inability to meet the standards they'd hoped for. The Great Leap Forward occurred in 1958 and was an attempt to improve the economy. It focused on agriculture and industry and aimed to accomplish its tasks using communes. The communes would involve people working as a group rather than by themselves. People were put into work teams, and this idea encouraged the belief in groups rather than personal items. Mao Zedong died in 1976, but his beliefs carried through after he was gone. China allowed more information about their country to be released, and were more open to outside beliefs as time went on. However, in 1989, a political rally occurred in Tiananmen Square. This is one of the more well-known crackdowns that had occurred, and the Chinese military was brought in to control the students involved. They had been fighting for the right of free speech and press, but the campaign ended with an assault by the army and a physical fight. China continues to be communist today, although they are a large world power and offer more freedom of the individual than they had been given in the past. They still restrict access to information, such as with the Google restrictions that have caused controversy in recent years. It does not seem they intend to change to a democracy anytime soon, and China will most likely maintain the beliefs they have had since 1949.